This makes sense!
What just happened? Did you guys hear that? That the sound went down immediately? What is going on? I thought I fixed something and now it's not fixed. Let me hang on a second. Now it's back. When I do this,
Shut up, fool!
something's taking control over my audio. And I don't like it. Let's see if it comes back. You guys noticing this? I gotta buy it. Yeah, and here it comes back. I gotta buy an Apple. I'm starting to get sick of Bill Gates. Ugh. You guys hear that, or am I the only one who's hearing this? It's like when I'm doing my XSplit stuff. I think I thought I solved one problem, and then it's like another one starts. Yeah, this has happened before, but then it went away, and now it's back again. Oh my goodness. Who was here first? Whoever's here first is the best person in the world today. East of Maine. That's a great name. No, you're the first winner. 10,000 Pine Points to you, Calaman. Second, you're not first or third or fourth. 5,000 Pine Points to you. Michael, 1,000 points to you for being third. You get a medal. And Togborn, you, yes, are indeed. At least you admit it, that you are the biggest loser. It takes a real man to admit that they're a loser. Does first count if it hasn't started yet? Yeah, of course it counts, Waffles. Okay, let me get to the punchline here. Well, there's many punchlines. Look at this. 118 people watching, 144,000 subscribers. Makes me think these are flag-waving, phony subscribers who don't even watch. Like, I'm at 102 and I just started a minute ago. So I thought I'd give these guys some help. I would actually like someone who is a universalist to call in and explain to me, like I'm a 5-year-old, why you think it's true. But I'm serious. Explain to me like a 5-year-old. Because maybe it's just the way I was raised when I was a Christian as a young lad. But it's biblically, no. But here's what I think is happening. Smarter Christians, the smarter ones, they realize that if eternal conscious torment is true, ECT, eternal conscious torment is true, their God's a schmuck. He should have never created in the first place. That's just science. And this is the real problem of evil. And the smarter Christians realize this. They realize that if God is omniscient, omnipotent, self-sufficient, has free will, knows that by creating, hell will result and people will eventually end up there to be tormented forever. If all that is true, if all that is true, your God should not have created anything. Then you can throw in verses like, wide is the road to destruction, narrow is the gate to life, which really strongly implies that most people will end up in hell. And very few will find eternal life. If that is true, you worship a monster. The smarter Christians realize this. Deep in their belly, they agree with it. And so, I think they invent this universalism thing or interpret verses in the Bible to help soften the blow. That it will all be worth it because even Hitler will end up in heaven someday. Now the Reformed Calvinist precept types, they to them this is like heresy. They will say to guys like, this guy's a universalist. They'll say to guys like Andrew, what's wrong with you? Why are you so weak? Why can't you just admit that God is sovereign, that he creates vessels for destruction for his glory? Why don't you just bite the bullet? Am I wrong? This is what it's all about, right? Someone said, is Doug seriously considering universal? No, I don't think any of this is true. I'm just explaining from the Christian point of view why Christians differ on this. And they will use the Bible to promote their views. Then I have another very simple question. Why do you give the Bible any credence for stuff like this? For these unfalsifiable claims. Why? Why do you give it this little special tasty reverence? Why? Why can't you just admit that these are words written by men thousands of years ago? Their way of trying to explain the world around them. Why for 1 second do you think any of this reflects reality? I'm all ears. You're welcome to come on and tell me why. But please treat me like a 5-year-old. That way, that's a new way of saying don't bloviate, because it's really hard to bloviate with a 5-year-old, because you know what they'll do? They'll start playing with their toys once you start talking. Okay, let's see. Like look at this. I always do this with Cameron because I like to rub it in. Let's see here. 103 watching. I've had audio problems, just started. Don't really care. This guy here makes his living doing this stuff. I do it for fun. Don't care. Oh, this just brings warmth to my heart. Someone who cares about this is failing. Is that too harsh? Doug, love the new profile pic. You have become what you hate, bald. I know. I did this in response to, for those of you who might have missed the last live stream, some guy, I chastised the guy for his looks, but in a joking way. And then they started coming down on me about my hair. And so I thought I'd just go bald on my profile pic. And then when people look at me, well, he's not like he looks nothing like his profile pic. He looks so much more handsome than his profile pic. But I think, I forget, is it Caustic Him? Did you do that profile pic? Excellent job. Well done. Good and faithful servant. Okay, let's see if I'm right here.
And what viewers can expect if they watch the presentation in its entirety, and then the Q&A, we can't really tell what the questions are going to be like, but at least for the presentation.
Free will. And so my presentation is meant to show that regardless of whether one is a compatibilist or a libertarian, both a libertarian and a compatibilist can affirm universalism, that it works on either premise. And so the main question is, if free will is not an impediment for universalism, then why won't God save all?
Well, the James Whites of the world would say because of justice. Or because he doesn't want to. And who are you, the pot, to tell the potter what to do? What if God delights in the torment of those who are not his children? Come on. Takes a backbone to believe that, but maybe that's true.
What about like problem of evil type
Yes.
concerns? Don't like, maybe not theologians, but like philosophers, don't they talk about the problem of evil with respect to universalism, how it might provide additional resources in answering that problem?
Yes, this is something I think I devote 10 pages to this in my book, and
Everybody
I
has
want
a
to make it
book.
clear that universalism is not a theodicy. It's not a theodicy in and of itself, but many philosophers have agreed that universalism is indispensable to a theodicy. In other words,
Yeah, why is it indispensable? for the reasons I just said in my monologue.
Without universalism, many theodicies simply don't work.
Yeah. Many theodicies are basically how do you explain the evil in the world, and if you believe in ECT, you're done. You're finished. Because you got to believe stuff like a rapist rapes someone, the rapist turns to God, repents, asks for forgiveness, goes to heaven, and the person who's raped doesn't do that and goes to hell. And then you can imagine cases where that happens every day. Someone spends 99% of their life doing the most heinous crimes. And another person, relatively speaking, does the exact opposite. 99% of their life helps people. Just think of whatever you deem as the most kind, gentle, giving, warm person in the world. And they can go to hell. This is a problem for Christians. This is a problem for Muslims. Although Muslims have a little different theologies.
Okay. Well, why don't we do this? Before we jump in, I want to tell you guys a little bit about Hallow.
Oh, come on.
So Hallow is like 2 months. Look into.
Goes towards the reprobate. His compassion is genuine,
What is
but
this?
superior motives prevail. The flaws in such.
What is this? He's reading his book or someone's book?
The temporal goods.
No
matter
how, Andrew. This is not how you change the heart, soul, and mind of people.
How lavish are never love them, but that he hates them.
Andrew. You need a what do you call it? A publicist. You need someone to teach you how to communicate. This is not how you do it.
And that they will be forever. Not you to do with clearly have to see the good,
be kidding me.
Immortal and vulnerable, and accept premises 2 and 3 that the Gentiles are out. So they're harboring prejudices in terms of, because annihilationists often like to make the argument that when the adjective aionios is attacked, universalists believe that there's a purging, that there's a purification. And so that there's an invitation we see in chapters 21 through 22 for that those who are
By the way, I do not have this sped up. He's a fast talker, which I appreciate.
Come, and this comes from the Spirit and the bride, and perhaps Christ himself. I can't remember off the top of my head. And so, I have to be honest, when I read Colossians.
Okay, let's get a Q&A.
Okay.
I mean, Andrew, this is a complete failure if you're trying to get people interested in your book, to care about what you want to say. Would you worship God if you believe that he did ECT? Is any universalism motivated by thinking an ECT God is abhorrent? Graze, see, Graze is a subscriber to my channel. This is a great question, and even he wrote it out nicely. Let's back it up.
E4, we'll get to both of these now. Would you worship God if you believed that he did eternal conscious torment? Is any universalism motivated by thinking that eternal conscious torment God is abhorrent?
Hold on, I gotta read the second statement. I'm kind of confused on that one. Is any... Okay.
So the question basically is, are you a universalist because you're weak? And it smells like soured milk to believe in ECT. Is that the reason?
So I'll absolutely agree with him on the second statement. There are forms of universalism that I have read in history that have been motivated by the idea that eternal conscious torment is just really, really mean. And I think it's absurd. The argument that they set forward are just not convincing. They'll basically say that you believe in literal fire, right? And you have demons with pitchforks punching you. And so basically they'll make a case for universalism based on a rather strange case for eternal conscious torment. And I'm not convinced by that, right? Because not all traditionalists believe that there are, like John Gerstner does, but not all do, that there are demons with pitchforks who are going to plunge them into you, right? Or that you'll be afflicted by other sinners, or that there's literal flames. Not all traditionalists believe that. So I think it's a really weak case for universalism.
Yeah, but ECT has the word torment in it. So no matter what the torment is, oh yeah, we don't believe in, we're sophisticated Christians. We don't believe in demons with pitchforks. Okay, throw it out. But torment's torment, yes? And if you find that repulsive, maybe this is why you have the theology you have.
But I do think that there are universalists out there. In fact, There is one, I think it's Tent Maker, Gary Emerald, where I was kind of frustrated with some of the arguments he made because it's basically relying upon that. And he completely ignored the doctrine of annihilationism, gave no credence for it whatsoever. And that's just inappropriate. Now, would I worship God if eternal conscious torment were true? Again, I disagree with many
Answer the question.
many universalists and many different things. But I want to be honest. I just don't know because I don't believe in eternal conscious
Oh,
torment.
come on.
Right? If I did,
You are holding yourself out to the public as some type of philosopher, and you're refusing to answer this hypothetical question. I don't know because I don't believe ECT is true. Andrew, I hope you watch it someday, and I'm, as a loving fellow human, I'm going to chastise you. Grow a pair and say, no, I would not worship that God. Or grow a pair and say, yeah, I would, because I fear I would end up there too. But don't say, I don't know because it's not true to begin with. This is an unrealistic hypothetical. You as a philosopher should know that hypothetical thought experiments are useful in finding truth and learning more about ourselves.
believe in it, perhaps I could give a better answer, but I don't. It's kind of like asking if I would worship God if he was like Ted Bundy. I don't.
Whoa! You just answered your question. Would I worship God if God was like Ted Bundy? Let me help you, Andrew. No. That's what you could say. No. Why is it hard?
No, for me, God is like Jesus. Better answer, but I don't. It's kind of like asking if I would worship God if he was like Ted Bundy. I don't know. For me, God is like.
I don't know. I don't know. How do you explain this? Can someone explain this to me? How is someone who claims to be in the philosophical world act and answer this way? What's wrong with you? Why the hesitation? I don't know if this guy's married, but would you worship a person who tortured your own wife, or own child, or mother, father? Would you? I bet you anything. See, this is why people don't come on and talk to me. This is the type of questions I'd ask him. And then he would say, of course I wouldn't worship them for torturing my wife. Then why would you worship God if he did it? Would you say, I don't know to that question? Would you say, I don't know if I would worship someone who tortured my wife? No, you wouldn't. You think it's fear of upsetting God? Just in case ECT is true, he doesn't want to upset God? He's doing a little Pascal's wager here? I don't know what's going on. But this is why people, Christians, just the average typical Christians, they listen to this type of stuff and they go, they're thinking what I bet you anything. They're thinking what I'm thinking. What's going on with you?
Like Jesus. So I don't know the answer to that question in all honesty. I'd lean on the side that perhaps I would. I know many universalists don't want me to say that, but
What?
if that is who God is, perhaps I would still worship him. But
now he's changing his mind. Perhaps I would. Many universalists wouldn't like me saying that. Now the question becomes, why would you? Thanks, Daniel, for the donation. Would you worship the flying man if you used ECT? Well, hey, Andrew on Capturing Christianity, listen to my answer. No. See how simple that is? Now, why would he say yes now or be open to yes, he would still worship? Because he fears this God. That's what he could say, and maybe he will say it here. Let's see. Let's see if he can be honest.
I just don't know.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Grab the water bottle. Take a big gulp. Thanks, Graze. See, Graze is a subscriber to my channel, and I'm not allowed on Capturing Christianity's channel. I've been blocked, but my subscribers can go there and ask these types of questions. They can, the evil spirit that I have flows through them and can reach all corners of the earth.
And another one from Grays
another one.
174. He says, "Is God cool with being misunderstood about what damnation means by most people for most of Christian history?"
I can't speak for God. I'm not a spokesperson.
You kind of are if you're an apologist, right? Preaching the gospel, evangelizing, telling people what God said. Isn't that a spokesperson for God?
But there are, I guess do have several thoughts about that. So one of the things that I did after I was convinced of Universalism was I repented immediately because I realized I had spoken horrible things about God to other people, right? And I wondered what he thought about that. Because imagine if I'm a parent and I have these children who I just deeply love, and one day I find out that they had heard from somebody else that I secretly was raising them up like Hansel and Gretel so I could do something horrific to them. How would that affect me as their parent? And I've often thought about that as God, right? And so I've asked his forgiveness for that. I've prayed for him to forgive
But
me
what
for
if God is like that? You need to ask for forgiveness for your universalist thoughts.
saying things like that. Now, would he want this again? I can't speak for God. There are many things in Christian history that have been said that I don't think that he would want them to have been said, and yet he has allowed them to be said for certain purpose. For example, there were the lies of the Pharisees that God has allowed. I mean, we are Christians, and yet we believe that God is sovereign over all, and yet there's Islam, right? A religion that lies every day about who God is, and yet God has allowed that as
Does
well.
God allow things that shouldn't be in the Bible to be in the Bible? Andrew? If God allows false religions to exist, why couldn't God allow false verses to exist within the Bible? Oh, you want to raise doubt in Christians? You ask questions like that. No, Doug, the Bible's special. God has put his hedge of protection around every single person who decided in history to which book goes in the Bible. God was behind that. Every one of those Roman Catholic early church fathers, they had the power of the Holy Spirit to make sure they made zero mistakes on what should be in the Bible and what shouldn't. Trust us, Doug. That's the truth. Okay.
I'll give you an example of a lie that has been told in church history. So I have to say something because I know that people, when we're young, we're often told that Augustine is this great theologian. And I love the man Augustine. I am inspired by confession. It's almost like reading Paul. But Augustine also said other things. This is a quote from Augustine from the Correction of the Donatists. He says this, "But we have shown that Paul was compelled by Christ, therefore, the true church. But therefore, we have shown that Paul was compelled by Christ. Therefore, the church, in trying to compel the Donatists, is following the example of her Lord. Wherefore, if the power of the sword..."
By the way, does anybody remember the question that Grace asked? I forget. I think, what was the question? Do you think God allows false interpretations, or why does he do that? I think that was the question. And I guess his answer was, I don't know again, right? The room's open, by the way.
"The church has received by divine appointment in its due season, through the religious character and faith of kings, be the instrument by which those who are found in the highways and hedges, that is, in heresies and schisms, are compelled to come in action." In fact, there are some.
Can Andrew compare and contrast the affliction of addiction with the plight of damned sinners in hell? I think I know this guy. Mark,
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well, thanks. What's new with you?
Um, I'm an uncle now. My brother just had a
Oh,
baby. Well,
congratulations.
his wife
Uncle
his wife
Mark.
had a baby. Yeah, I know, crazy, right? Crazy. I'm the crazy uncle.
Did you want to weigh
So
did you want to weigh in on the universalism thing?
yeah, no, I've got a ton of thought. Well, maybe not a ton of thoughts, but I've got some thoughts on it. Yeah. Um, so I'm not sure if you're aware.
Sorry, something happened. Ask your question again.
Oh, I was just saying, were you familiar with that book called Love Wins that came out in 2011 by Rob Bell?
I'm familiar with it. Didn't read it.
Oh, okay, no, that's okay. Um, yeah, no, that was like a huge like conversation starter for the evangelical church. Like, he got a lot of pushback for it. He was essentially he didn't come out as a universalist, but he definitely came out in favor of universalism. Yeah, so I read that and I was just like, I don't know. For me, he grew up sort of fundamentalist with the whole typical heaven hell kind of paradigm. I was like, oh, this sounds way better. Like, everyone gets saved, you know? I was like, it's a nice thought. But then I was thinking about it recently, I've been talking to some people about it. I think all, because you've got the three kind of views, right? You've got the heaven and hell kind of perspective, and then you've got the annihilationism, which is like, if you're not saved, you just get annihilated, like you're just
Yeah.
destroyed. And then you've got the universalism, which is like ultimately everyone is reconciled back to God. I think all three have their problems. Um, it's sort of like heaven and hell kind of idea is just like, well, people go through a lifetime of suffering and then they die and go through more suffering. It's like
Yeah.
that's pretty rough. And then um, annihilationism is kind of just like, well, what's the point? It's kind of like, I guess it eliminates evil to some degree, but then it's just like,
To me, that's the best one.
you know, yeah, in a way. But then, yeah, like universalism, the biggest problem I have with universalism, and I'm someone who sort of leans towards it, to be honest, but the biggest problem I have with it is, um, what's the point of all the suffering now if ultimately everybody's going to be saved?
Good point.
It's sort of it sort of still makes God a little bit sadistic
Yes.
because he's just like, why make us go through suffering now?
Some Christians answer that
It's,
question by saying character building.
yeah, I was sexually abused. It's character building.
Yeah. I
I
was
mean,
raped
come
10
on,
times
like
by my
that's
uncle, but it's character building. Yeah.
yeah, no, that's kind of a bullshit answer to be honest.
But you're exactly
It
right.
doesn't make
If
sense to me.
universalism is true and everybody ends up in heaven, why not create heaven and put people freely there, whatever that means,
Hmm.
and then you're done.
Yeah, like why have this space in
Yeah.
between? Yeah. So I mean, that's generally my thoughts on it. I think, like I say, when I first came across the concept of universalism, because universalism has been historically held, it's understood in some circles that universalism was the dominant belief in the early church. Like you know, it just wasn't sort of focused on as much. And then when they had the um, is it the Council of Nicaea where they
Yeah.
kind of put the Bible
Is that
together?
really true
They
though?
sort of
Because,
I
did they read the parable in Luke about Abraham and the rich man?
yeah, again, that's a parable. I wouldn't say you necessarily take that
I know, but
literally.
there's parables about the
Um,
seed and the sower, and farmers are real. I mean, there's the
farmers
yeah,
are
like there's the parables are based in reality, but it's a story but it's still based in some type of reality.
I think parables. I mean, parables are fiction, right? They're not literal.
Well, yeah, they're
That
the story actually is not literal, but it's based in reality. Like every parable outside of that one, let's say, You have the kings and you have the stewards. You have people who have debt and they were given money and been forgiven. You got the planter, the sower, the seeds, the harvester. These are all things that you can point to in reality. This is real. Now, the exact context of that particular parable, no. But this is the point. Like and I think Bart Ehrman even talks about this. He doesn't believe Jesus actually said that parable and that was made up later, which I agree. But if Christians believe that Jesus actually spoke that parable, to me, I think it's game over for Universalism.
No, I disagree with that. I don't think it doesn't, because there's nothing in the text or the context of it that forces you to believe it's literal. I don't know where you're getting that from.
Well, I'm just comparing that parable with other parables that are based in reality. So, the point Jesus is making in Luke
you say, wait, hold on. What do you mean based in reality? What do you mean?
Well, exactly what I said. Farmers are real. So Jesus uses parables about farmers.
Yeah, but then it's like you take a piece of art or a fictional book or a movie, or you can say, oh, these things are based in reality. It's like, but it doesn't make them real. It's like they're just taking elements from reality to construct a
elements
story
from reality. Yes, that's my point.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that if Jesus gave that parable in Luke about the chasm and about the rich man being tortured and wanting to go back.
Yeah, rich man and Lazarus.
Yeah, Lazarus. I said Abraham before, Lazarus. And there's elements of reality there. And even if Jesus, in his foreknowledge, would have known that, some people might take this literally, he would have made it clear, by the way, this is, none of this is real. The point I'm making here, Jesus says, is, people don't believe based on signs and wonders. It should be based on the scripture and the data. That's what he could have said. But no, he just kept it going.
Yeah, I think parables are different to what you're saying. I think you're trying to make parables literal.
No, I'm not.
And they're not.
Well, yeah. Well, okay. We can agree to disagree on that.
Well, no. It's not just about agree to disagree. I want to understand where you're coming from.
Okay, tell me what I just said.
Well, you're implying that because... Well, I don't exactly know what you're saying. It seems like you're saying because these stories have a connection to reality, because there's farmers, because there's seed, because there's this, that, therefore these stories are true?
No, not the stories themselves, but they're based in some reality, these stories, so people can relate to them, understand them.
Yeah. Well, that's a tool of language, though, isn't it? So if Jesus was speaking Chinese, his audience wouldn't have understood it.
Okay, I think we're done.
Why? What do you mean?
Well, you're already starting to bore me. I'm getting to the age where I don't even care to.
I don't understand.
To
see, I'm not offended by you.
No. I'm just. If you don't see the point I'm making, then
see, I've known you for quite a few years now, Doug, and I'm surprised that you're.
I just don't have I don't have the desire to explain this to you.
No, that's fine.
That's why I said let's just agree to disagree. In other words, I don't care if you don't understand me.
But that's fine. I can get over that. But that's not somebody who's pursuing truth, though, is it?
Okay, if we want to talk about pursuing truth, then we got to ask the bigger, deeper question: why think any of this is true to begin with, right? And I made it pretty clear in my opening monologue or in this live stream that there's no reason to think any of this is true. Like there's a God, that there's a heaven, there's a hell. Right now, we're basically two people talking about the details of Star Wars, in my opinion. This is why part of the reason why I don't have this desire to make you understand my perspective of the Luke parable, because we're talking about Star Wars here.
So why? See, now I'm scratching my head because I'm like, why do you do this? What's the whole point of these conversations?
When you first
that you
came
have?
on, I was more interested because you gave a great summary of the three views, and I'm more interested in what the reasons why people choose the view that they do. To me, that's more interesting. And my theory is, and tell me if you agree with this or not, and we talked about this earlier with that guy named Andrew on Capturing Christianity, people who have this soft spot for mercy, for they're more empathetic than other people, they will lean universalist. People who
I agree.
People who value justice more, they will lean more ECT. And maybe the people who are a combination of both or really don't care that much, they will lean annihilationism. And to me, the more interesting thing to talk about is what motivates people to interpret verses the way they do, see the world the way they see, is a lot to do with how they're raised, maybe the personality type that they're born with.
Oh no, I agree with that 100%. I mean, I know people in all camps, but I mean, I was raised with the idea of eternal conscious torment, which to me now is just absolutely abhorrent. But
Me too.
yeah, I mean, I spoke to there's a guy named Kevin Miller. He wrote made a documentary called Hellbound, and he talks about all the three different views and breaks it down. So it's worth watching actually. But I said to him I had him on my podcast, and I said to him, do people really believe this? Like the whole hell thing? I was like, because most Christians will say, yeah, that's what they believe. But I'm kind of thinking to myself, if you really believe that, you'd live a totally different life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you really believe that people were going to burn forever and ever and ever.
That's a good point.
Would be
I think most people who believe in ECT, I don't think really truly believe it. Otherwise,
no, I agree.
Otherwise, they would be like
totally
you. They would be the way you used to be, and they would be on the street. They'd be knocking on doors. It's like an oncoming bus is coming right for them, and they're doing nothing.
Oh, I know exactly. So I don't know what you do with that, but that's how I feel about that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm happy to keep talking to you. We can wrap it up. I don't mind either way.
Yeah, well, I had a question for you. What was it? I forget now. But anyhow, nice seeing you again. Take care of yourself.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And I got a guy who wants to come in.
Keep being yourself.
Take care.
Keep being Doug.
I will. Don't worry. And I got a guy who wants to come in. Hey, good. You're fast. You hit that.
Hi.
You hit the mute on your tab very quickly. I'm impressed.
So yeah, my view, my system basically solves the problem of evil and still put the fear of God. So unbelievers now, when they die, will spend X plus 1,000 years in hell. So the 1,000 years is during the millennial reign of Christ. So and then you at the end of the millennial rule of Christ, you'll be given a second chance to worship God.
And if you reject that second chance, what happens?
It might be eternal. I am leaning towards eternal, but everyone has a chance. For those who are not convinced of God's existence, everyone has a chance to believe Him.
So
after 1,000 years of torture, yeah.
And do you lean that most, if not all, people will, after the 1,000 years, accept?
I think the rational ones, most of them will. Maybe the prideful one may not. Yeah.
Well, aren't all people prideful in their nature?
Well, I think I watched 24, right? And I believe most people, everyone breaks eventually.
Everyone?
Almost everyone. I mean, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Under torture, almost everyone breaks. Yeah.
Almost everyone breaks eventually. So you kind of do lean universalist with 1,000 year period of suffering.
But there is perhaps there are maybe there are irrational people that might even.
But is that fair that the stupid people, the irrational people, the crazy people go to hell forever? That's not fair, is it? If you're saying only the irrational ones choose to reject you're basically saying only crazy people go to hell. Like the ones who actually are thoughtful and think things through, all of them will go to heaven.
Oh, I'm not sure what happened if you reject the second time. It might be annihilation or it might be eternal. I'm undecided on that point. But
how does this solve the problem of evil, though?
So I mean, your excuse for not believing in God is not enough evidence, right? So after you get burned for 1,000 years, you have a second shot.
But there would be no 1,000-year burning if God never created, right?
Well, that is an incentive for people to fear Him, you know. So
there would be no need for incentive to people to fear Him if God never created.
What do you mean? Create humans?
I'm saying that why go through the charade at all of creating anything if it means you're going to have this 1,000 years of suffering and suffering in the day-to-day life? Oh, I can't find my keys. Oh, the flat tire. I mean, every day is a struggle, small or big. Why go through any of all of this stuff if God doesn't need it? He's okay without it.
Wait. Okay, I am an open theist, and God creates creation for interaction, basically. So it increases pleasure. It's like God is like a simulator. Is watching Sims game right now. So we are His.
So where are God's playthings for His pleasure and entertainment?
Yes, that's what the Bible in Revelation 4:11 says.
So God is willing to have people go through extreme gratuitous suffering for His pleasure.
What do you mean purposeless? No, I think the purposeless depends. If somebody
gratuitous, I said.
learns from that suffering, if somebody learns from that suffering, it's not purposeless anymore.
Gratuitous, I said. Meaning that the terrible stuff that happens to people in life could have been avoided if God never created. But He did create for His pleasure and entertainment, you told me.
I'm sorry. I'm under the assumption gratuitous means purposeless, right?
No, gratuitous just means very, very bad. So, for example, a type of suffering is going to get a vaccination because that hurts your arm for like a couple of days, right? That's suffering. Now, it does have a purpose, you're right. You know, it helps prevent disease. But gratuitous suffering is like a tsunami wave kills 100,000. It takes a whole village out. It's gratuitous. It's really, really bad.
Okay, I happens to be the view that random things can happen to those who are not under God's protection. But if you are really devout, the kind of faith like Abraham and Moses, there are no random things that happen.
But you're missing my
life.
point. Everything you just said is irrelevant. Because my question is, well, you've already answered it. Why is there so much suffering in the world? Because God decided that He needed more pleasure and entertainment.
Yes.
So you've answered my question.
Yeah, I mean, but if you can level up your game and reduce your suffering. And if you depart from this physical life, there is no more suffering. I mean, if you believe on Him and depart from this physical life.
Yeah, you're going to heaven. You're talking about.
Yes, paradise with God.
So why didn't God just create the people that He wanted to create and stick them in heaven? Forget about the whole earth thing.
I think, in some sense, I think humans and God, there are some commonality. Imagine if you watch a movie where there are no challenges at all in the movie. Would you find it interesting to watch?
No.
Yeah, so that's a play for God. I think perhaps He's give us
you saying that? Are you saying heaven's boring? Yeah, you are.
I don't. Maybe God will give us a pleasure drug in heaven. I don't know.
So tell me why God created the earth with its suffering that causes, like a good movie, you got to have conflict and a resolution. Why create that at all if God can put people in heaven with a pleasure drug?
That is prerogative. I think that there are some things that is, how to put it?
You could
Because
just say
as a video game creator, God is free to set up whatever rules he wants. His power is the powerful one. I mean,
okay. So to me that's like I don't know. God just does what he does. That's the answer you're giving.
okay, but maybe you can answer this thought experiment. I mean, you yourself wouldn't watch a movie which without any challenges in it, right? Yeah. So maybe that answers the why there is suffering. I don't like suffering too, but I mean, I hope to pass whatever test God gave me.
Okay, why didn't God just make a movie that he would find interesting instead of real people that have to go through the real suffering?
I think I play video game from 7 years old. There are different kind of fun when you play video game where there are real characters you can interact or you just passively watch and
have you seen the Hunger Games movie, the Hunger Games trilogy with Jennifer Lawrence?
I watched, but I kind of forgot. It's 3. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Jennifer Lawrence. Remember they go, yes, there's a bunch of kids and they have to kill each other in the last one. You basically worship a god that made a Hunger Games movie, except for real.
Yeah, sure. I mean, but my God is more powerful than Thanos with 6 stones. So I mean, that's fine.
Yeah, you're fixated on power.
So yeah. So what do you think? It's fair, right?
No.
God give a chance. No. I mean, after 1,000 years, everyone got a chance to have a second chance. Why? You still got a shot at
because if your worldview is true, then God could have created everybody. I mean, if universalism is true, God could just create.
I'm not a universalist. I think. But go ahead.
God could have, as an all-powerful being, created humans, put them in heaven, and just like you said, give them this pleasure drug so they're never unsatisfied, and then that's that. You don't need the 1,000 years suffering and so convince people. You don't need rapes and murders and 95% of all species who ever lived go extinct. You don't need any of this. Just create people, stick them in heaven, give them their free will, but that they'll never act upon in a negative way. And then and always give them this pleasure drug.
If you disobey God in paradise, you might get kicked out. So I don't know. I think we still retain some sort of free will even in paradise. But yeah. So yeah, I mean.
So your views don't even come close to solving the problem of evil, because an all-powerful God, an all-knowing God. Well, you don't believe he's all-knowing. Well, in the present tense, you do, right?
So I mean, if you obey God, as long as you obey God, there is no problem. Everything is solved.
Yeah, as long as you obey God, there's no problem. But if you don't, watch it.
But okay, when you said talking about rapes, I think there are some well-managed society like Switzerland where the crime rates are low. I mean, why blame everything on God? When humans screw up, okay, yes, you can blame God for not intervening, but if you can have a...
Oh, that's a good question. Why blame God? Because he's blameworthy.
I mean, you're talking about rapes, right? You're talking about human rapes.
Who's the most powerful creature ever?
Yeah, God. But I mean...
So where is the most responsibility ever? God. He's the most powerful, yes? So therefore he has the most responsibility. Yes?
Okay, I mean, there's one way to look at it, but there's another way to look at it is, does humans have responsibility to learn by themselves too?
Sure.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, so my view is there's a second chance.
There'd be no evil, no pain, no suffering, no sin,
I mean, I think
no disbelief if God never created.
Problem. But God is a living, thinking agent, and I mean, if a living, thinking agent
with needs, he needs to have his pleasure up, right? He has needs.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's a good purpose in life, right? I am as a creature has a super powerful being that I can please him. I mean, make him happy.
Make him happy.
Yeah. But anyway, okay. Last question. Do you believe that my system has the least problem? I mean, among other the various.
Your system within Christianity, or just in general?
Yeah, within Christianity, the least problem.
No, I think there's Christians out there who basically don't believe revelation is in the future, and they're annihilationists. I think they have less problems than you.
Like what? You mean
Because they don't believe that 1,000-year thing.
annihilationist?
They don't believe in that Antichrist thing like you do.
So you believe somebody who believes in annihilation has the least problem? You mean?
An open theist who's an annihilationist, yeah. I think that's the best route to go.
But according to your own word, if annihilation is true, there is no motivation for people like you to fear God, right?
Correct.
So I mean, there must be a balance, or I mean.
But why do I need to fear
know,
God? Why
Huh?
do I need to fear God in the first place?
I forgot to. I mean, to be the ruler, to be the king, for there to be an order.
In order for there to be order? Is my life disordered?
Yeah.
Do I need this king to help me in my life?
If you gain favor, if you please him, he will help you. Yeah.
Oh, he will. That's a promise?
Well, I mean, God is not like a robot where you press a button, 100% he will help you. It's like another.
So he may
like
help me or he may
agent.
not, is what you're saying.
But yeah, if you're God's friend like Abraham, I mean, even when Abraham makes mistake, God will intervene for his behalf.
What do I need help with? From what can God do for me?
Well, Solomon was the richest man on the planet. Okay, I'm not. This is not prosperity gospel. I mean, King Cyrus was called God's anointed, and he was the most powerful man on the planet. And I mean, well.
Well, no, I'm not even talking about money. I'm talking about like if let's say I got terminal cancer, I got diagnosed with terminal stage 4 cancer tomorrow. God's going to help me with that?
If you have the same level of closeness like Abraham is to God, yes.
Oh, really? It's conditional help.
Yeah.
I got to really, really love him. Then he'll help me?
Or maybe when God in a good mood, the Lord is in a good mood, and I don't know. I mean, you can try to pray. I mean, God is not a robot where it's not a vending machine where you press one button 100%. There is an answer.
Aren't there people in the Bible who really loved God and were his servants, and they still had bad things happen to them that God never helped them with? Like Job, like Paul.
You can only one example, Job, right? And I think
even Paul.
Job is not a simple story.
Paul had a thorn in his flesh, and he begged God to remove it, and God said, "My grace is sufficient for thee."
Actually, in that same passage, the reason God did not heal Paul of his thorn is Paul was become a very prideful man, and God has to discipline him, to train him how to be humble. Abraham does not have that.
Oh, there's always an out, right? Oh, Paul had too much pride.
I mean, that passage literally says that. I mean, to keep him humble. I'm not making this up.
I know. Okay, thanks for coming on.
Thanks. Bye.
Universalism helps, I think, does indeed help solve the problem of evil, but it doesn't get rid of it. Because of the question I just asked him, Japheth. What's with the charade of earth? What's with this testing period of earth? Room's open. I'd also make the claim that if you become a universalist, you you become one step closer to becoming a functional atheist. What I mean is you basically live your life like an atheist.
What does it mean to blaspheme the Holy Spirit? Is this some horrible sin you could potentially commit and never be forgiven for? Well, the key to understand this is to go to the context in the Gospel of Mark.
Okay. Is there a filter on his face? Is he a robot? Are you guys seeing what I'm seeing?
Chapter 3. Jesus is having a debate with the religious leaders, and they say that Jesus is possessed by a demon. And Jesus says, wait a minute, this makes no sense.
Maybe I'm seeing things, but it looks like there's some type of filter on his face.
House cannot stand. If I'm possessed by a demon, why would I cast out demons? And then he says,
oh, well, that'd be the greatest trick of all, right? Can you imagine if Jesus was really a demon and he cast out other demons and he said, hey guys, I'm going to cast you out, but it's just for fun, right? Because I want them to think I'm the Messiah. So, I'll put you in some pigs. You guys run off the cliff. You'll be fine. It's not like you're going to die or anything. I mean, that would be clever, right? The evil one is clever. Maybe Jesus did cast out demons as a demon.
You'll be forgiven for any sin except the blasphemy of the Holy Spirit. Well, when you look in context, to blaspheme the Holy Spirit means to attribute the works of Jesus while he is in the flesh to Satan.
Ah, so that's what it means. And that's unforgivable, right?
And since the Holy Spirit is with us in present, not Jesus in the flesh, we cannot commit blasphemy of the Holy Spirit. The only sin somebody would not be forgiven for today is rejecting the free grace that Jesus offers, and by repenting.
What? That's the only thing you're not forgiven for?
Today is rejecting the free grace that Jesus offers, and by repenting and believing in him.
Until you change your mind, right, Sean? Don't forget that part. So I could say I reject the gospel message. I reject that free gift. Does that mean it's over for me? Does that mean there's zero hope? No, you don't believe that for 1 second. You would say that maybe 5 years from now, I could still come to repentance and accept the gospel, right? So really this whole unforgivable sin thing means absolutely nothing in the big picture, in the big scope of things. It means something, I guess, to the point of death. Once you die, okay, it's over for Doug. There was a guy, let's see if I can find him. He's just so deep into it. Yeah, this guy here.
Stardust. If I'm just or
I found this guy the other day. Look at that puppy face. Good looking man. DailyDisciple is his name, 116,000 subscribers.
most hot button issues in Christianity today, whether it's evangelical or deconstructionist, a lot of these people that are breaking down the
And
foundation.
this is on topic. The title is TikTok Atheists Can't Believe People Go to Hell.
Of their faith roam on to social media and share their perspectives about their new perspectives about Christianity, Jesus, and the Bible. In today's video, I want to react to one of these kind of deconstructionist Christians and respond to a video that I think is pretty common. Like, the accusations that she's sharing are pretty common. Maybe you have heard these in your own life for people that are deconstructing, or maybe you've had these questions yourself. Regardless, let's dive into it.
Yeah, a big contributing factor to why I stopped wanting to worship the biblical God is because I did not like the idea of him torturing or even annihilating.
Yeah, well, just become a universalist then, like these other people. These other weak people who just can't understand the justice of God.
those that I loved and cared about that simply didn't believe in him. I had plenty of non-Christian friends that I considered to be genuinely good people.
Good? Oh, even the tiniest sin in God's eyes, they're like filthy rags. You can't call people good.
But because they didn't believe in God, I had to believe that they were evil and that they were going to be justly tortured for all of eternity.
Okay, let's talk about this because there's lots of misconceptions about hell out there. And it sounds like she has some, even while she was, she considered herself to be
there's a lot of misconceptions of hell out there. Let me tell you the truth. Here we go.
Christian. She had some misconceptions about it as well. She says that she understood her friends to be pretty much good people, right? And so why would they go to hell? Well, it actually gets to the core foundation of like who we are as people. Are we intrinsically good? Or are we intrinsically evil? According to the Bible, if we're going to go with the Bible here.
Why is this so difficult for some Christians? Why can't you say both? Or just get rid of the word intrinsically? Why say neither or both? Why is that difficult for you? Well, because of the Bible, and you got this reverence for it, and this is what the Bible you think teaches. And
if we're going to call ourselves a Christian, then we got to go with what the Word of God says. And we say, okay, well, the Bible says that we've all fallen short of the glory of God, that we're all dead in our trespasses and sins.
Yeah, okay, so here's my advice when talking to Christians like this, which is, he represents at least, I don't know, a big chunk of Christians in the United States. Get them to admit that even in their definition of good and bad, what God desires, what God doesn't desire, get them to admit that the specific actions of human beings differ on planet Earth, and that some people do more bad things than other people. Now, I bet you anything, Christians like this guy, they will push back on that. But they'll lose because they know it's true. They know that there's people who have murdered and raped on this planet, and most people have not. They have to admit that. They have to admit that God doesn't like murder, doesn't like rape, doesn't like it, doesn't want it. He has to admit that most people haven't done those things that God hates. So in other words, for most Christians like him, he views the world as black, white, white, black, 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 white, black, black, white. It's just boom, 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 boom. There's nothing in between. And you got to get people like this to say, that's wrong, but this is less wrong. Oh, this is horrible. This is not so bad. They're going to fight you on this, but they agree with this internally. I'm psychologizing, I know, but it's true. And they will admit that, relatively speaking, you can't just put everybody in the same box. But for guys like him, there's two boxes. You're either of the world, in the world, dark, or you're in the light, child of God. There's no in between for him. But the behaviors, you can actually get him to say that there's this idea of more wrong and less wrong. But the phrase less wrong to a guy like this, that is heresy. It's wrong. This whole idea of less wrong is like, that's nonsensical. Oh, really? I don't know if this guy's married or not, but I would ask him, I'm going to do 2 sins to your wife. The first sin is to kill her. The second sin is to tell a white lie, to tell her that her dress looks lovely when really I think it's hideous. Which would you rather me do to your wife? Boom. Very quickly, very clearly, he sees my point. More wrong, less wrong. And what this young lady is talking about is the less wrong people. Sure, you can say they're sinners and they sin. But to lump them in with the people who would kill your wife, sir, Mr. Daily Disciple, oh, really? You're going to go there?
And you might even look at that and say, okay, well, I can understand that we've sinned, and so there might be some punishment that is due, but really, like hell for all of eternity, that's pretty extreme. A lot of people have that perspective. And so this analogy might give you some help on this. So, if I were to lie to my little brother, nothing would happen really. Like, he's my little brother. I can lie to him, and like, it's bad, I did a bad thing, but like ultimately the consequences of that aren't going to be that extreme. If I lied to my parent, let's say I was a little bit younger and I was still like a teenager and I lied to my parent, the consequences of that would be more severe. I might get grounded, or some of my privileges might be taken away.
You know what's interesting with this analogy? I know where he's going with this, because God's an infinite God. Any small sin's an infinite sin. If a child came up to me and lied to me, wouldn't bother me. It might bother me a little bit, but big scope of things, wouldn't bother me. Isn't it interesting how sin bothers God so much? This is something I don't think a lot of Christians actually think about. That the all-powerful creator of the universe is actually bothered by sin. That he actually has we use the language, hates sin. Like, in a lot of ways, there are many humans on planet Earth who are better than God at dealing with things they don't like. Seems like God is not good with it. It's like he didn't get enough hugs as a child. God, if he had more hugs as a child, he would be more okay with himself. But when someone does something he doesn't like, look out. It bothers him. Like, a real man would just let it slide in these little things. I can understand God being bothered with rape, murder, and the big stuff, but, stealing a pencil from the office at work, you shouldn't. Give the pencil back. But an infinite sin? Really? This gets back to the less wrong thing. Okay, proceed, Daily Disciple.
If I were to lie to a cop, a police officer, man, the consequences of that scenario would definitely be heightened quite a bit more.
What if the lie was, gee, Officer Grinley, where did that word came from, Grinley? That gun in its holster is looking mighty fine on you today, and you really think it's ugly, but in other words, you compliment an officer and you lie. Is that so bad? Well, maybe if you're trying to get out of a ticket, you might think that's a type of bribe.
If I were to lie to a judge, that would be perjury, and I would be sent to jail. So the lie didn't change. It was a lie each time, but who I committed the act against did change.
Yeah, so, but here's the question for you, Daily Disciple. Are some lies worse than other lies? Could a lie be less wrong than another lie? And I think for him, he's forced to say, no, all lies are equal in God's eyes. A lie that leads to murder and rape, let's say, is the same as a lie of you're looking good in that dress today. In God's eyes, a lie is a lie. I think he's forced to say this.
When you commit an act against God, who is completely holy, infinitely holy, right? Something super small to us might seem insignificant. To God, it is an infinite offense, and thus the punishment is eternity in hell. She says how she didn't want to see them as evil and deserving of hell. Well, we need to understand that we are not above them, right? Like, it's not like we're as Christians saying, oh, they're so evil, and why are they so bad, and why am I'm so good, and I'm going to heaven because I'm a nice guy. It's like, that's not a biblical or Christian perspective. It's that we have all sinned and all fallen short of the glory of God. And it is only by God's grace that I'm saved, right?
What? It's only because of God's grace that you're saved and other people are not? Then that means, sir, that everyone who ends up in hell, it's because it's God's doing. Is it your doing, sir? Is it your doing that leads you to heaven? Is it something you've done that's lead you to heaven? No, you say. No. It's God's grace is the reason why you're going to heaven. Is that what you're saying? Is it people's doing that leads them to hell? Oh, yes. Well, there's nothing you can do to go to heaven, but there is something you can do to go to hell. Is that what you're saying? Yes. Isn't it interesting, the double standard? So really, the default position is hell. And in order to not go to hell, you need God's grace. Now, how do you get God's grace, sir? How do you get it? Is it something you do? No? If it's not something you do, then you're a Calvinist. And if you're a Calvinist, that means every person who goes to hell is because of what God didn't do. Give them grace. And then your God becomes a real schmuck. I wonder if guys like this even stop to consider these things. Has he even never thought about it? Or is he just so deep into his Sunday school beliefs that he just... I'd love to know. I sincerely would love to know.
It's like I'm a beggar that's looking for bread, and I found that bread, and now we're called as Christians to share that.
You found that bread? How did you find that bread? Is it something you did, sir? I don't know why I'm calling him sir. Is it something you did? Really? Did you seek? And then you found the bread? I tell you, if you're hungry and you just sit around and do nothing and you die, that's on you. But you sought for the bread. Well done. Something you did. That makes you way better than people that don't find salvation. Right? I'm pitting the Calvinists versus the non-Calvinists here. I love it. So it never gets old.
That good news. It's not like God has hung us out to dry here. He's given us a path out of this judgment that we rightfully deserve through Jesus' sacrifice. That's the whole point of the gospel. That's the whole point of Christianity.
And when you're young, you just accept this. But as you get older and you start grappling with your own morality, you start to wonder how this is just. And I was
grappling with your own morality. Listen how she puts that. Yes, you either are stuck with God's objective morality or you're subjected with your own morality.
Yeah, this is interesting. God's own objective morality. What does objective mean in this context? Usually most Christians say objective means something outside of humans, outside of human opinion. It's objective. It's true no matter what. Oh man, I'd have a field day with this guy. Is it always wrong to stone the practicing homosexual? Is it objectively wrong to stone the practicing homosexual? Lean yes, lean no. Is it always wrong to pick up a sword and stab a child? Lean yes, lean no. These are the type of questions I'd ask this guy. In other words, what I'm asking of this person is, can you give me an example of one action a human can do to another action that you can say is always wrong? No matter the time period, no matter the context, it's all just action that you're seeing. Action X is objectively wrong of one human to another human. Can you give me an example? Because whatever example you give me, then I'll ask, what if God commanded it? And then you guys know how this will go, right? Well, God would never command such a thing. Or are you sure? Maybe he has morally sufficient reasons. So I'll say something that will shock Christians like this guy. Your objective morality does not matter if we can't know what it is. Well, we do know what it is. Well, what is it? It's like, don't kill. Really? You sure about that? God commands killing. I mean, don't murder. Well, that's just a legal definition depending on, but ending life, God has commanded. Don't rape. Oh, you sure about that? Didn't God command Israelite men to take spoils of war, virgin women, in Numbers 31? Don't have abortions. Oh, you sure about that? Didn't God command the priest to have some special water, and then if a woman lies, that if she's pregnant, the fetus will be aborted? Sanctioned by God? Numbers 5. Someone get this guy on to my channel. 10,000 pine points to you.
What's the alternative here? Well, am I the judge of God? Like I'm going to judge God?
Yes, you are the judge of God. And here's how I know this. Daily Disciple, is God good? Is he good? He's going to answer yes. Well, didn't you make a judgment call there to say God's good? No, I'm just stating the fact. Okay, what does good mean? Well, good means anything that comports to the nature of God, and anything that doesn't comport to the nature of God is bad. Okay, if that's your definition of good and you're just stating a fact, then when you say God is good, you're saying God is God and you've said nothing.
For the way that he conducts himself because it doesn't fit in my morality. Look, where am I getting morality from if I'm just like stardust bumping into stardust? If I'm just...
This guy has heard apologists say this and is just regurgitating it like a parrot. Yes, we're made of the same elements as stardust, but when you combine these elements found in stardust to make complex organisms like ourselves, then we use words like good and bad, morality, immorality. But there's no way this guy believes in evolution via common descent. I'd bet money against it. I'd bet money that he believes the Earth is 6,000 years old, or maybe 10,000 tops. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he'll say I don't care about that. But like for Christians like this, it just doesn't seem right that we're nothing more than stardust. Therefore, I just can't believe it.
Just, an evolved animal, and I have no intrinsic dignity or worth.
Here it is, exactly it. There are many Christians like him that if that were true, it just doesn't feel good. It feels horrible. I'm just an animal. I cannot live with that. I cannot accept that. It feels terrible. I need to feel special. I need to know that I'm not an accident. I need to know that I'm not just like those apes and chimpanzees at the zoo. I got to know that there's a creator God who loves me and sees me as something special.
Worth. Where am I getting that standard of right and wrong and morality if I'm denying God's standard? See, if we're going to...
What would be the second best reason? This is my friend Reed's question from years ago. Where would you get these ideas of right and wrong, morality, if not from God? Well, think about it. Let's imagine God is real and he says X is wrong. And then I come along and I ask, what would be the second best reason to say X is wrong? Like, well, God's the answer, the right answer, but what's another answer? For example, let's say X is rape. God says rape is wrong. Okay, but what's another reason we can say rape is wrong? Try to get the Christian to think this way. Try to get them to get out of their Sunday school right-wrong switch and maybe say things like, because maybe the woman doesn't want to be raped and it hurts her psychologically, physically. That can cause damage that goes years into the future, that she might get pregnant with a baby she doesn't want. Most importantly, she doesn't want to be raped. She doesn't want that. And you can imagine people not wanting this. It doesn't take much of imagination. Is that not a reason not to do it? Or even for someone, a third party, say that is wrong? Can we not say that and say, yeah, God's the real reason why it's wrong, but can we not also say this part? If you can get a Christian to admit this, I tell you, the foundations start to crumble, because now they're thinking about the reasons why something's wrong. Now, if I want to be hypercritical, I can say, okay, God says rape is wrong. And now my question is, so what? What the fact that God says it's wrong, why is that wrong? Well, because God says it's wrong. Okay, but why the fact God says that it's wrong makes it wrong? Well, because right or wrong is defined as his nature, and this is going against his nature. Okay, why ought anyone care about what his nature says? Get them to lead. It's like you're tying a rope around them. You're leading them down this garden path of really trying to explain it. And basically, they're left at the end of the trail that you're pulling them down. They're going to have only two options. It's wrong by definition, which is really not very powerful. It's just wrong because it's wrong. Or you should care about this and say it's wrong, because if you don't, God will hurt you.
We're going to cling to the 10 Commandments, or, what Jesus said is like, oh, good moral teaching, then we need to embrace all of it. And when God says,
you need to embrace all of it. This guy does not embrace the 10 Commandments. There's no way he does. In other words, what I mean by that, if I was to ask this guy, would you vote for a politician who said, if you worship Ganesh or Vishnu in the United States of America, you will be punished with jail time? I'd be shocked. Honestly, this guy's very conservative, I can tell, but I'd be shocked if he would vote for that politician. But isn't that the first commandment? If we're talking about morality here, and if we have this goal of legislating things that are right and punishing things that are wrong, then why we should be locking up Hindus in the United States. We should be locking up Muslims in the United States. They believe in a false God. They don't believe in the Trinity. We should be locking up Jews because they reject Jesus as the Messiah. So really they're worshiping a false God too, because Jesus is God, part of the Trinity. Anybody who's worshiping anyone other than Jesus Christ as Lord and personal Savior should be locked up, because the first commandment says, thou shalt have no other gods before me. And they're worshiping these false gods. But I bet this guy would say, well, yeah, that's wrong, but we should allow these wrong things to slide in a free society. Really? But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this guy would say, yeah, you're right, Doug. We should lock up Hindus, Jews, and Muslims in the United States, and we need a theocracy. Now, if his answer would be that way, we ought to be thankful that there's very few people like him.
You know what? You're guilty before me and you're deserving of this. Then we got to take him at his word, regardless of if it doesn't fit into our morality.
Why do we need to take God at his word? Why? Like, these are very simple questions that you need to ask Christians like this. Don't say anything. Don't push back. Just ask questions. Very simple ones that they're so simple that it's rarely ever been asked of them. My favorite is like, why is sin bad? Like, a Christian will hear that and they'll look at you funny. What do you mean, why is sin bad? It's bad because it's bad, but why exactly?
Because our morality is flawed. It changes every day. Look at the world's morality and how it shifted over time. It's flawed.
Look at the world's morality and see how it's shifted over time. Tell me, is it right or wrong to stone the practicing homosexual from God's point of view? Oh, it's right for the Israelites, but it's wrong today? Oh yeah, God commanded that for a certain people at a certain time, but not today? You see how incredibly easy this is? I got like 75% of my brain tied up behind my back, and
you come to a crossroad where you have to either choose your belief or choose your empathy. You have to give.
Choose your belief or choose your empathy. That's such an interesting way to put it. Because look, it's not about, you can feel bad for people that are like, you know, not Christians and they're going to go to hell, right? Like, and that's a scary thought. That's like, oh man, like I don't want that, right? Because you want them to be saved. You want them to come to know Jesus. And you can have that feeling. But the way you deal with that is not, oh, you know what? Like, maybe they're not going to go to hell. Maybe they're cool. Like, you know, they're pretty good people. Like, okay, I'm not even going to worry about it anymore. And that makes me feel better. And, you know, I can feel like empathy towards them. So I don't, you know, I want to just like let it go and let the truth go. No, it's like, well, no, we got to pursue truth regardless of how it makes us feel.
I actually agree with him here. There's many truths that are very uncomfortable. One of them is like, maybe it's true that there is no God, there is no heaven, there is no hell, and that you are an animal. This guy just said we should pursue truth no matter how it makes you feel. Take your own advice. Don't let your feelings of not being special in this world, I'll even go further than that. In the ultimate sense, you have no purpose and meaning in the ultimate sense, meaning like the universe doesn't care about you. Don't let your feelings stop you from considering that as a real possibility. Can you do it? The problem is, for a lot of humans, fantasy and fiction are more soothing than reality. And I understand, I completely get it. Like when you guys dream, when you guys fantasize at nighttime, it's because it's better than your real life. This is how religions form. You have these ideas that bring comfort, give you this idea of cosmic hope, meaning, and purpose.
It's not about choosing your belief or choosing empathy. It's about choosing truth or choosing to make ourselves feel better by denying what is true.
Give one up for the other. And I just could not give up my empathy to maintain my belief that my friends that didn't believe deserved eternal punishment.
Yeah, I'll say something against this woman here too. Sometimes I think it is actually good to give up some of your empathy. I think empathy, more so compassion, can blind you like nothing else from the truth. If you are a highly compassionate person, and I compare you to someone who's still compassionate but not as compassionate, I will place a bet that the very compassionate person has been duped, has been fooled, has been scammed way more than the not so compassionate person. Compassion and empathy can blind you from seeing the truth because there's this emotional desire to want to feel sorry for, want to help, when really by helping you're making it worse. I know that sounds weird. In other words, it's not real help.
Hurts that my own family would worship and praise a God that they believe will do the same to me.
Ultimately, it's God who needs to transform this woman's heart.
He is a Calvinist. Ultimately, it's God that needs to transform this woman's heart. So if this woman in this video, Daily Disciple, ends up in hell, it's because your God didn't transform her heart, right? Oh, I wish this guy was here right now. It'd be so much fun. He has just admitted that every person who goes to hell is because of God. The default position was hell. Everybody's headed to hell. The only way that changes if God regenerates their heart. And God chose not to do that for some people.
I don't think your justice is truly just.
Own family would worship and praise a God that they believe will do the same to me.
Ultimately, it's God who needs to transform this woman's heart to surrender her own perspective and her own morality to God. Because right now she is judging God. She's placed herself as the judge of God, saying, look, God, I don't think your justice is truly
Yeah,
just.
and there's nothing wrong with that. I encourage people, Christians, to judge your God and accept the consequences of it. And you know what the consequences of judging your God will be? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I dare you. Try it. Test to see if I'm right. Judge your God today in a bad way. Like, say things that you honestly don't think that the character of God is good here and there, or things he did in the Bible, whatever. Go ahead, judge. And test my theory. He will do absolutely nothing to you. It's almost like he didn't even hear you and doesn't even care what you have to say. So go ahead and judge your God. You'll be fine. It won't make a dent. Now, he might throw you in hell forever because you hurt his feelings.
I don't think your goodness is truly good. I don't think your love is truly loving. I think my definitions of what love and truth and justice are more valid.
And so, see, are more valid. My definition of love is more valid. This reminds me of the guy who came on my show the other day and says, because I'm an atheist, I don't truly, no, what word did he use? Really believe that I love my wife and kids. This guy's saying the same thing. Unless you have the love of God, it's not real love. My love is better than your love. Na, 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 na. Well, I'll tell you what. My love for mankind is 1 billion times better than the love God has for mankind. You know why I say that? Because if I had even 1% of the power God has, and I saw a rape, I would stop it. Your God wouldn't. Or at least not all the time. I would stop it all the time. Whenever I saw it, I would stop it. Your God doesn't. I'll even grant you that he does sometimes. But I would do it more. So therefore, I love people more than God does. I would even beat God in an arm wrestle. You know how I know this? Because God doesn't have arms. And even the Jesus of the first century, I'm a farm kid. Even though I'm old, I'm still pretty strong. It's like forearms. Farmers always have strong forearms. If there's any farmers in the live stream chat, they'll back me up on this. I could beat first century Jesus in an arm wrestle. Easy. You gotta remember, Jesus in the first century was probably 4'10", looked like Super Mario. I just go, poof, done. I'm actually a lefty. Poof, done. I'm more loving than Jesus, and I'm stronger than Jesus. I bet you anything, I'm even better looking than Jesus. Because back then, they didn't have all the special creams and...
So she's putting herself on this kind of high horse of saying, I need to embody this empathy for all these people, and I can't, coexist with this belief that God would send people to hell because that's just so unempathetic and that kind of thing. Well, hey, look, if that's the truth, is that the truth? That's the real question. It might make us feel uncomfortable. It may make us feel sad that people are going to hell. But what does that drive us to? Does it drive us into denial and accusing God of not being good? Or does it drive us into action and actually living out his commands on this earth to be a witness for him? Thank you.
Your witness matters not. Ultimately. Christians love to use the word ultimately, so I'll use it too. Your witness doesn't make a dent if God doesn't do his work first. You think you can make the soil soft and so the seeds will take up root? You think that's up to you? No. He would agree with this. He said it in this video. The reason people go to hell, no, you got to be very careful. The reason why people don't go to heaven is because of what your God didn't do. Your God's responsible for every person who ends up in hell because he does not regenerate their hearts to see the truth of him and end up in heaven. And I bet you 10,000 Pine Points, he agrees with what I just said. He just doesn't like the way I phrased it. Room's open. I'll take a few more callers. But I really enjoyed this. It's just so easy. It's so incredibly easy. You can just tell that he has this fear and love, two emotions, for God. That he gets his hope, meaning, and purpose from this belief. That he desperately wants people to believe what he believes. He's highly confident that he's right. And he makes money off it now. So if there's a Christian listening who's disagreed with anything I've said, feel free to hop on and let me know it. That muscle you just showed is built up by certain actions, personal actions. It's a medical fact. Mine is huge. You're saying this here? What do you call it? What's that muscle called? I call it the egg muscle. What Uberscheiser is saying is that muscle is built up by screwing screws into wood with a screwdriver. That's how you get muscles like this. Actually, the other side's almost as good, even though I'm a lefty. So Uberscheiser has done a lot of screwing. FAP muscle, is that what it's called? Yeah, see, non-farmers, people who don't, you city slicker type, just sit in an office all day, you don't have muscles like that. Yeah, us working men, we got muscles in places you haven't even seen. Oh yeah, good point, Seawolf. Jesus was a carpenter, but they didn't have screws back then, did they? No. By the way, poker tonight, if anybody plays poker and has a PayPal account, Venmo account, signs up with pokernow.club, it's free. Buy-ins are $20 for tournament, $20 to $50 for the cash game. No limit, hold 'em. Play a little bit of Omaha once in a while. Thanks, Christopher, for the donation. Chamberlain. I'm a single-digit HDCP and played today. I prayed for some putts to go in and didn't for others. I missed every putt I prayed for and canned every one I didn't. Well, there you go. So single-digit handicap. So that means you're pretty good. So basically what Christopher's saying is you can use God as a contrarian. So if you don't want something to happen, pray for it to happen. And if you do want something to happen, then don't pray that it will happen. Just do the opposite, because God's pretty good at doing the opposite. Jesus couldn't cut it as a carpenter, so he became an apologist. Maybe there was a little bit more money in it. I have money, but don't know how to play poker. Can I join? Rainbow VHS, you are exactly what we're looking for. By the way, you remind me of Stranger Things because of the rainbow. Yes, you are what we want. People who have money but don't know how to play. You know how Christians, they target the desperate, the addictions, the people who just came off divorce or bankruptcy, the young people. You know how they target them to find Jesus? Well, I target the people with money and no skill. Farmer here, yoked forearms for sure. Yes, Wadabaka. You know how it is. And you know, when you're fixing a piece of equipment on the farm, you're constantly putting your hands in places that are really awkward and hard to reach, and having to like unclick or unscrew or undo something. Sounds so... I'm not using euphemisms, even though it sounds like I'm using a euphemism. But I mean, it's just... And it's so frustrating too. Like, the life of a farmer is probably the most frustrating life, because maybe this is why I am the way I am as far as how I'm more dead inside, because you learn very quickly that whatever can go wrong will. Your expectations are, when you get up in the morning, I hope the tractor starts. I hope this thing works. I mean, and then you got to wait when they don't, and that's just life. Some of you flag-waving phony humans, you haven't experienced this. All your life you've been given stuff. Oh, heaven forbid you have to do this. Oh, can't we get the gardener to do the garden and take out the weeds? Like, I live in a gated community, fairly affluent community, and all my neighbors, they hire people to pull the weeds and cut the trees. No, me and my son, we go out and we do it ourselves. I take jobs away from people, because I want to teach my kids that when there's a problem, you can fix it on your own. When something's wrong with the toilet and you got to change, you figure it out. You can Google stuff nowadays. And you can fix things on your own. And I tell you, it gives you far more hope, meaning, and purpose than believing in God. Fixing a toilet can give you more hope, meaning, and purpose than believing in God. To say, it didn't work, I did X, now it works. You can see it with your own eyes, experience it, and other people can use the toilet. They can poop and flush and see the poop go down the toilet. None of this is true with God. Can I get an amen? Hallelujah. Grr, I tune back and hear PineCreek berate his audience. Hey, beatings will continue until morale improves. Not every problem is worth your time. That is true. I lose money by doing chores on my own, but I feel better when I do some of the stuff on my own. I mean, it genuinely, I'm not lying here. It sincerely gives me purpose when I see something broken and I fix it myself, rather than hiring someone and writing them a check or giving them money for $300 or whatever. That $300, that feeling of purpose is more valuable to me than the $300. Try it. Sincerely, try it. You'll like it. And especially for kids nowadays. This is the problem with kids. Yeah, I'm talking to anybody under the age of 30. You're a kid if you're under the age of 30. Get off your phone. Get off your texting. Get off your computer. Go outside and pull some weeds. Go outside and prune a bush. Get out, buy some paint and a paintbrush and repaint your baseboards. Seriously, this is Jordan Peterson advice. But you know what? It's true. I don't know. Is it Jordan Peterson advice? If Nathan were here, he wouldn't like this because I'm starting to sound like Jordan Peterson. But I think this is part of the reason why Jordan Peterson became very popular, by saying such simple stuff like what I just said that actually have practical value and works. Because it does work. Jamie knows what I'm talking about. Jamie's not scared to get her hands dirty. I'm making good time today. I wanted to go 2 hours, but I'm like Myron over there behind the stage. He's going like, stretch it, stretch it. I don't need to stretch it. I can quit right now if I want to. No, we've got to go to 2 hours. No, I don't want to go to 2 hours. They're getting tired in here. Oh, yeah. Now you had Satan get someone a call. Who did Satan? Where's my tab? Oh. Rebel Nazarene. I'm trying to remember him. Oh, yeah, he's the flat earth guy. There's two of me.
Yo, Doug, can you hear me?
Yeah, just hang on a second. Someone in the live stream chat saying, Doug, if you're under the age of 30, there's no way you can afford a home to paint baseboards. Oh, come on. That's not true, is it? Buy a house in, let's see here. Fargo, North Dakota. Walhalla, North Dakota, you can afford a house. Okay, what do you want to say, Rebel Nazarene?
First of all, what's good, bro? Mr. PineCreek.
Yeah.
Dougie, my buddy. How you doing,
We're
man?
not buddies.
We're not?
No. I hardly know you.
Why'd you say
I hardly
that?
know you.
Yeah, so we're in the process. How can you get to know somebody unless you talk to them a little bit?
Yeah, okay. So we're getting to know each other. You want to buy me dinner and take me to a movie?
I mean, you're the one who joined Nathan's stream the other day and tried to make me look like an absolute idiot.
I didn't try.
What are you suggesting? You successfully
I'm not saying it. I'm just saying I didn't try to make you look like an idiot.
You're comparing me to someone born without legs, and so I couldn't.
Yeah, well, I was just telling my friends that sometimes talking to you is like saying to someone without legs telling them to run. It's just impossible. And I don't remember you pushing back that hard. I was defending you.
Well, I
was basically saying you can't do it. So like, why beat up on you? Like I was on your side.
I do appreciate you. Well, I don't know if I want to call it defending, but I like how you were honest to budge in sometimes and answer a question that they had for me a little quicker than I had the time to respond. And you could see
that's who I am. I like to help the little people.
So I still think you're a big old dummy for being an atheist. But if I can just give you a compliment instead. So I went back to watch back that stream with Nathan because sometimes you miss a lot of things that are being said and some stuff while you're in the stream live yourself, right? So I went back to watch it and I had a lot of fun rewatching it, especially because of you. I like your lighthearted attitude. Like how you do this kind of thing for fun,
mm-hmm.
and I love your sense of humor as well. And what else?
Please, no more. Stop. No.
What the one other thing was, I hate how you always resort to like these hypothetical questions, but I do, on the other hand, I do like how the sort of method of questioning that you use to really get down to the bottom of a matter.
Right.
So that I do.
Yeah, the root of the issue.
Right. So anyway,
So you want to go bowling
so I
now?
asked you.
Is that what you want to go? You want to hang out?
If you're asking me on a date, I mean, it's up
Are
to
you a
you.
good kisser?
Yeah, I am.
You had to think about that.
Because I wasn't implying if you were, I wasn't sure if you're implying homosexual actor.
No, I am not a homosexual. Are you a homosexual?
Okay. No.
Okay.
No.
Well, I'll tell you what, if my wife ever dies before me, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but you can be my wingman and we can go bar hopping.
I used to be in that scene a lot.
Or church hopping. You can be my wingman. We can go pick up chicks at church.
Huh.
How's that sound?
Okay. I'll keep
Are you
that in mind,
single?
Doug. I am, yes.
So how do you currently pick up chicks at church?
What makes you assume I even go to a church?
Or how do you pick up women? How do you find love in all the wrong places?
That's something. Well, I don't know what you mean by wrong places, but the woman that I end up marrying, if that's what happens, that's something God will have to, put in my life.
Oh,
I'm not worried
don't
about it.
put that on God.
Why not?
That means you're lazy. Don't be lazy.
I mean, it's not like she's literally gonna fly, like drop out of the sky from heaven into my lap.
No,
Of course,
yeah,
it's
you
gonna
got to
be
go out and
some
take
effort.
initiative.
Right, but it's gonna be, I'm not like those, quote pickup artists that like literally take time out of their day to go into the mall or like the grocery store.
Well,
Like
maybe you
whatever.
should. How old are you?
No, I don't got time for that. No. Ain't nobody got time for that. Those are, I mean, I don't want to call them losers, but like those are people that like don't have anything actually going on in their lives and like actually have the time to try to do something like that. When really you should be building yourself up as a man, becoming successful, financially independent, those kind of things, and just naturally, organically, a woman that's interested will come into your life. That's the way it really should happen. There's no reason why you should specifically set your time apart to actually go like pick like quote unquote pick up or talk to some random girl.
Well, no, you set apart time to, I think, you went to school to get educated, to learn about the world, to get a career, to get a job. You set time apart for preparing for that. Why don't you set time apart to prepare for your wife? Like, you got to start looking.
That is the preparation is quite precisely all the things that I just told you about like building yourself up to be a successful man.
Oh, that's true. So you're saying as long as you make lots of money, the women will come.
It doesn't have to be lots, but whatever you can comfortably get by. That will ultimately be able to support a family. Yeah.
Yeah. How much do you currently make, may I ask, or you don't want to say? Are you?
It's a decent amount. I'm middle class.
You're middle class?
Yeah.
Do you make six figures yet?
No. Do you?
Well, I just assumed everybody did.
Okay, that's a nice assumption. Kind of like assuming everything is hunky dory and everyone has complete integrity and there's no corruption in the world, therefore no conspiracy exists. No conspiracy may exist, especially in the fields of medicine and science, where people may be lying to you about the most fundamental of topics like the shape of the Earth, for example.
You know how long we went without talking about the shape of the Earth, and then you have to bring that up?
You don't have to go there. We
were having so much fun. You know what? Personally, I don't care if you think the Earth is flat or not.
Yeah, and I don't care if you think we're in a magic spinning globe of water.
Because really, think about it. Let's pretend that the Earth is a sphere for a second, and you think the Earth is flat. Really, practically, what difference does it make? Like for everyday life, going to the store, buying stuff, doesn't make any difference, right?
Well, it's not Well, because it's not related to those. I don't want to call it mundane, but
Yeah.
it's not related to like those common
Right.
activities. No, it's not.
It really has zero
It's
impact on the world, what shape the world is, for most people. Now, if you work for the fake organization called NASA, or you're one of those fake scientists who pretend that the Earth is sphere, all this, then you gotta, believe it's that stuff. But for most people, unless you're a pilot who needs to fly and set a course, or an architect who has to build a very, very long bridge, but most people are not those people.
right. But for me personally, I mean, I already kind of told you why they lie about the globe, right? I think you have a good understanding of that. Or in fact, that reminds me, Doug, the last time, this is my second time joining your stream now. I'm glad you did on a Wednesday, because I know usually you do a Theist Thursday, and that happens to be the day that I have to work from the office, so I can't catch you those days. But the last time we spoke on your stream, you admitted that if I was right about my cosmology, that you would have to believe in God. And I responded by saying like yeah, that's true. But I want to, just to go back to that in hindsight, I want to ask you what gives you the idea to have that next conclusion, that if the flat Earth within a dome is true, what leads you to what leads you to the conclusion that you would have to believe in God? I think I know why, but I want to hear from your mouth.
Yeah, it's really hard to come up with another explanation naturalistically in that scenario, because in your cosmology, it's almost like, well, I'm not even quite clear. Like, what's outside the dome? Anything at all? Like, what's outside the utmost heaven?
Well, outside, yes, in my belief and perspective, yes, right outside the dome would be God literally sitting in his throne in heaven. That's right.
But is it like above and below the flat Earth? Is it all around? Like, what do you actually picture the kingdom of heaven looking like, or being?
Well, the kingdom of heaven specifically is what the Bible describes as, or gives the name, New Jerusalem, which will be a 1,500-mile square city, golden city made out of all these precious crystals, that will descend out of heaven down to earth.
Okay, so do you think it
That's
already
what-
exists up in heaven?
Yes, it does. Yeah, that's right.
So if we could actually break through the firmament, we could actually potentially see it with our own eyes?
That's correct. Yeah.
And it's how big?
About 1,500 miles squared, which is about 2/3 the size of the United States.
The United States is bigger than that. But anyhow, but you're saying, is it possible to break through the firmament or no?
No,
It's
impossible.
impossible. It's like the ice wall, except
Well,
above.
well, I mean, the ice wall you could technically like break through.
No, you
it,
couldn't.
Like if you just
The ice wall is basically the horizon firmament. If you could break through the ice wall, you could enter the kingdom, or where God is.
But the dome, hits the ground at the end of the ice wall. You see what I mean? There's a fundamental difference between something being made out of ice, which is just frozen water.
Right.
And
But
the
here's,
firmament
I don't know if you
itself.
can see me, but here's.
I can.
So here's the flat Earth,
Amen.
and then there's
That's
a
right.
dome. But what I'm curious about,
That's
what do you
right.
believe is all around it, below it, above it? Like you said, you mentioned that there's a throne and that there's a 1,500 square mile city, but like what's down here?
Below it is just the foundation upon which it's built.
And how far does that go down?
No idea.
Does it go down forever and ever, or does it stop?
That's the whole concept of infinite regress, which some people have a hard time imagining. But first of all, the Bible says the extent of the heavens and the foundations underneath cannot be measured. Okay, so that's one. And then two is, my guess is to your question about does it go down forever? Well, like, have you ever played the game Grand Theft Auto before?
No, I am a good boy. I don't even
Okay.
pretend
Well,
to steal cars.
Have you? Yeah. Have you played any kind of like role-playing game, like that first person kind of like free?
No, I played charades. and pretended to be a duck once.
Okay, so I just brought up that I just brought up that that game as an example because when you play it, there's a certain limit to that game. Like you can't go on forever. Like if you go to the beach, for example, in Grand Theft Auto, like you can go out to the shore and end up swimming to a certain extent before you hit sort of like an invisible wall where the game developers, the video game designers, did not put it in the software of the game for you to continue beyond that point. So I'm thinking God sort of did the same thing where the bottom of the foundation of the earth is just, he just stopped the software development right there. Like that's where it stops.
Yeah, I'm just finding it hard to imagine like what's underneath the stop part. It's the same. I have the same problem in naturalism too.
It just doesn't exist. It just the development of God's creation is just no longer there.
Okay. No
stops,
empty space, no dark matter, no.
Right. It just that is the extent of where God's creation like just stops.
And you mentioned the throne earlier. Do you think like Jesus is literally sitting on the throne in heaven? Like there's actually something you could.
That's right.
So do you think Jesus literally has his bum in heaven?
That's right.
Does he poop in heaven?
That's a good question. That's something people brought up on Nathan's chat on that last stream that no one was paying attention to. So I'm glad you brought it up. I'm sure a lot of other people have this question as well, Doug. So I don't know for sure, but if I could guess, right, this is my sort of theory, you could say, is that perhaps in this spiritual heavenly divine body that both Yeshua and the Father have, and all the angels, right? Their level of metabolism is just so efficient that whatever they eat is completely completely 100% assimilated and digested, that they would have no need for excretion.
Well, is there soil up there?
Oh yeah, whatever. Like, just imagine if God can create such a beautiful earth like we have here now with the jungles and forests and islands, what he has up there for himself is like a million times more beautiful.
Sort of like Avatar, like that was very beautiful. Have you seen that movie?
I have not, but
I'm getting a picture. The heavens like the Avatar, that planet that was lush, full of stuff. So there's food up there. Yeah. Is there animals up there?
The best food. Oh yeah, you bet.
Like all the animals we have, or different ones?
More. Not only the animals we have, but more animals that are even more wild. There's probably dragons up there too.
Oh, that's cool.
Like Ezekiel. Well, first of all, I believe dragons used to exist on the earth. I'm not sure what happened to them, but I do believe they did exist at some point. And to a certain extent, some dinosaurs as well. But the book of Ezekiel talks about those
weren't the dragons just a type of dinosaur, really?
Yes, yeah.
That's just science.
Yeah. Right. Whatever that means. But Ezekiel, because 4 faces, that of a man, a cow, an eagle, and something else. So it's some crazy stuff up there. Yeah.
So if they have farms and soil up there, then they have weather. They have rain.
It's a good question. Weather, huh? Well, originally, it's said that there was no rain on the earth originally before the flood, right?
Or maybe it just bubbles up through the soil, like underneath it was a lot of water. That's probably it.
It is, yeah. It is possible that the soil somehow stays moisturized or something like that. Just
because I can't imagine heaven having a rainy day. Like that'd be a downer.
Oh, I wouldn't say it's a downer. I mean, I know a lot of people that enjoy watching.
That's true, and you can always sing in the rain with an umbrella.
Yeah, and have a nice romantic kiss under it too.
Have you ever kissed yet?
Yes, I have. Have you?
Oh, I've been married for many years. So the answer is no.
Okay. Okay, that's good. Oh, well, wow. See, you can never assume. That's right.
I'm kidding.
Never make assumptions, Doug.
How old were you when you had your first kiss?
Technically, man, I have a picture of it.
You took a picture of your first kiss?
Yeah, quite a young age. I forget, but it was under 10. Yeah.
Oh no, that doesn't count. You have to hit puberty.
Hey, you asked me.
How old were you when you had your first kiss and your little, you know what, stood at salute?
I think 16. It was
16.
whatever the 10th grade is.
Yeah, I think I was 14 to 15, and it was at a barbecue, and the girl had a hot dog breath. It was horrible. I hated it.
Oh, that's not.
Yeah.
That's not.
Haven't
Doesn't
kissed
sound
since.
pleasant. You should ask your wife sometime. Maybe she'll
No.
allow you.
Then I got married and I kissed my wife. No, then I kissed my wife and then got married.
Wow, sounds like the perfect love story.
But you know what? My wife has still never seen me naked. We're going to save something for retirement.
Huh, that's interesting. Are you insecure about your body?
No, it's just so good. I gotta. It's like that present that you just. It's a box inside of a box inside of a box. Like over the years, we keep unwrapping more boxes. But I'm going to save the last box for retirement.
You guys have kids, though, right?
Yeah, but they're in vitro kids. You know what that means?
They were made in the lab.
Yeah, so no coitus required.
So you donated how'd that work exactly? You donated your sperm and then what?
Yeah, I had to go into a clinic and go into a room. And I remember I was so nervous that I couldn't. And so then I asked some of the nurses to come in to help me. And then we finally got the lid off that specimen jar.
And then your wife had to donate an egg? I'm not sure how that works.
Yeah, then they take eggs out of the woman, and they look at the eggs in the basket, and they find like the best eggs, and then they take my semen and they find what I like to call it is the Trump sperm, like the best sperm, like this really strong ones. So they find the Trump sperm, and then they attach it to the egg, and that's how I got my son and daughter.
Wow, it's an amazing thing.
Very expensive. I would recommend it the old-fashioned way. If you can,
Right.
but you should still have money before you do it.
Well, why didn't you go that route? That sounds like,
Because God cursed me.
a lot of trouble to go through.
God cursed me when I was younger with a low sperm count. I guess I did some sin, and he did his magic spell on me and killed most of my sperm off, but I outsmarted him. I went to science.
You went to science.
Because all you need is one good sperm, one good Trump sperm, and then you can get someone pregnant.
So, but you do. So that means you do believe God exists. That's a good step. That's quite a large leap to take.
Don't say that out loud. Don't.
I
got to keep the charade going.
I'm just repeating what you said. Yeah, that's all.
It's no fun if
you said
it's no fun for both theists here, right?
No, it can be. It's not necessarily true.
But anyhow, I got to go. Speaking of kids, I got to go pick up my son from school, my daughter from work. Got to do real life things.
I see. You're very, very sneaky of you to get into this whole weird combo we had instead of.
This has been a very fun and good conversation. And notice we hardly talked about flat Earth. It's just, isn't it fun just to hang out and talk?
Yeah, but I want to ask you one question that you had a little time answering on Nathan's stream, but he ended up booting me instead. So I want to pick up.
Okay, make it quick.
It's all good.
What's the question?
Well, I asked you what makes you think a teddy bear is intelligently designed and created, but a real bear, which is far more complex.
Yeah, and I answered that. Remember my answer?
Something about you can see the way a teddy bear is created, and you haven't seen God created anything.
Yeah, because
right?
I'm a pattern-seeking animal, and I've seen with my own eyes. I don't even have to read books. I've seen with my own eyes people build things and make things, including teddy bears. But I've never seen a human build a bear, like one black bear, grizzly bear that you see in the wild. Now, maybe there's a human out there who's done it, but even then, that would be like a robot or whatever. I'm talking about a fleshy thing. So I attribute that when I see someone build something using the materials in front of them, like a teddy bear, I can say that person has some intelligence. They're using the motor skills and whatever. So I'll
Okay,
grant that. I'll
but
grant that they're intelligently designed. But I say that the bear that you find in the wild is not intelligently designed. I say that that is a product, and you probably know what I'm going to say. It's the product of natural selection, common descent, evolution over a long, long time. So if your model of reality is correct, then what I just said is false. If what I just said is correct, then your model is false. So we both can't be right.
correct. But I think you kind of alluded to this. But do you understand and realize or acknowledge the fundamental difference between a teddy bear and a real bear? Because a teddy bear is nothing but material, but a real bear is a living, breathing. I mean, you just said fleshly, but
Yeah,
what
has
it
a brain.
is a living, breathing, blood circulating, metabolically and physiologically
Very
active, conscious
complex.
animal,
Yep.
right? So categorically, they are two different things.
Well, they're made up of, essentially they're
so-
made up of the same building blocks, but yeah, they're two different things.
Okay. So my point is, yeah, a human made a teddy bear, but can't you see why a theist
Yes,
would make the
I can see why they make this argument. I understand it completely. It's very intuitive. That's why they do it.
So is it intuitive for you?
Partly, yeah, I totally get it and understand it. The thing is, and this is why most people believed in God before Darwin. Then once we realize that and of course there's more questions than answers, but once you realize that it's pretty clear cut that the Earth is very, very old, the universe is very, very old, and that
No, you have no.
and that we do have a record of species going from very simple to more complex over time.
No, you don't. No,
I
you
know,
don't.
hey, Rebel, I know you disagree with all this, but at least, humor me. This is what people believe, right? And they have reasons to believe it. It's not just like we're all agents of Satan. Like, we're not all just trying to get you to go to hell. Like, maybe some of us are, but not all of us. There's reasons why people believe these things. Now, you can say that I disagree with those reasons, but it's not like we have mean intentions of deceiving everyone. It's like we go out and we see layers of rocks and notice what's in them. We go to ice cores, and we count that. We look at the DNA and we see chromosome 2 is missing. It's like this is what we see, and we go, oh, what explains this? So I think your problem is you have this conspiratorial mindset that everybody is out to get theists or Christians in particular, and that Satan is behind all this, and that's a great big deception to get people to believe something. But no, it's just normal everyday people finding out stuff about the world around them and trying to explain it. Can I get an amen?
Yeah. Amen.
There you go.
Amen,
See,
bro.
and you know what? You keep believing what you want to believe. It doesn't matter. But at least understand where people like I'm coming from, and I think you agree. I understand where you're coming from, and then we can play poker together. You want to play tonight?
Sure. Yeah. What? Give me the time and location. But no.
It's online.
I
It's in 2.5 hours. But no talking about flat Earth. Okay, we just play poker.
Yeah. Well, how about debunking evolution? Because life is irreducibly complex.
Like it's sometimes when you're dealt a good hand and you got 4 people in the pot to use your brain to talk about evolution and figure out if someone's bluffing. It's very difficult. You know what I mean? So if I had a choice between talking about evolution or trying to figure out if my friend's going to bluff me, I'm going to choose the latter. But if you truly want to play poker and you're willing to spend some real cash, I know you're middle class, but if you're not willing to lose like $100, then I would suggest don't come. If you're willing to win $100 with that risk, then come. And it's in 2.5 hours. Email me. My email's in the About tab.
No. Wait, PineCreek. Sorry. Last question, I promise. You just reminded me when you mentioned cash. Speaking of cash, would you agree that a seed that grows into like a beautiful hibiscus flower was not intelligently designed?
Yes, I would agree that's not.
Okay. So what does it say about your level of intelligence that you cannot make a seed that grows into a flower yourself? You must be pretty dumb then, right?
Me personally, or just humans in general?
Yeah,
I can't fix a carburetor either, but maybe I could. Let me Google it maybe I can on YouTube. Hey, you know what?
No,
I was raised on a farm, and I understand the point you're making, but do you realize that most of the seeds that we have today have been genetically modified by man? This is why your bananas don't go bad. This is why your tomatoes don't go bad. This is why your sweet corn tastes super sweet. I tell you, we've taken I'll enter your worldview. We've taken what God has done and we've made it better. Now, even the atheists are disagreeing with me now. Anything GMO is bad.
Well,
but no, we've taken what your God has done and we've improved it.
Okay. Well, as a quick side note, I think you're conflating GMO with selective breeding and hybridization.
No, that's what I'm talking about. Humans can actually do natural selection. We've evolved to the point where we can use evolution to our favor.
Well, yeah, but they can only do that given what's already there.
I understand. You're basically saying, well, where do you get the stuff to even start with it? I get what you're saying, but I'm just saying that matter has always existed, and that over billions and billions of years, through chemical evolution and biological evolution, the miracle, I believe in one miracle, the miracle of us has happened. And there's probably other species like us in the universe. I hope so.
Just by random chance, right? It was just.
You do understand that common descent, natural selection is not random, right?
I mean,
is this the first time you've heard this?
What's your definition of natural selection anyway?
Natural selection is that there's certain forces in the environment already that impact a species, and if it impacts it negatively, it would die off, and only the positive traits continue on, or not only, but that they flourish more. So that's not random. It's not random that blackbirds in the tundra will be killed sooner than white birds in the tundra because of camouflage. That's not random.
Right. But
that's what natural selection is. It's the non-randomness. What is random is the mutations of the genes. That is, I'll give you that. That's random. But I really got to go pick up my kids. But I was just saying the fact that if you really want to learn this stuff, ask someone who does it for a living, and keep religion out of it. Just pretend it's science fiction and that you want to really learn more about science fiction. And then that way you won't say stuff like, well, this is just random. Then you'll say, oh, I get that, within the context of the science fiction, they think that this is not random. And then you can at least humor us. It's like you're trying to talk about Luke Skywalker without even knowing that he had a lightsaber. Like you got to gain some street cred. Right?
I didn't even mention religion once, but okay.
Oh, you know what I mean by religion, theism.
Evolution, Big Bang is pretty big.
Look at this. We got 3 people who want to come in and talk to me, but I got to pick up my kids. Sorry, guys. You got to come sooner next time. I apologize.
Oh, too bad.
Okay,
so
have a good
sad.
day. If you're interested in poker, email me. The email's in my About tab in the YouTube channel here.
All right, shalom from the flat earth under the dome. God.
Shalom. Hail Yeshua.
Give thanks and praises.
He always says Yeshua instead of Jesus. I understand why, but we speak English here. That's how you talk to a flat earther, friends. We made friends. You gotta build up rapport. I know some people like the shit show, but this was fun too. I learned about his first kiss. You learned about mine. I know, Godless Girl, you're trying to join, but I'm trying to leave. Call in next time. Set your notifications. Follow me on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter. Get off your butt and be here on time. Not after I've gone for over 2 hours. Yeah, Uber, settle down. I know you're proud of me for saying the S word. Shit. It's not a swear word on a farm. My wife doesn't like it though. Notifications suck? Well, but Facebook and Twitter's, you see me post. Stream the poker game. The poker game is streamed at 7 Pacific on PineCreek Poker. You're welcome. Poof. Hey guys, thank you for hanging out with us today. It was fun. Watch the whole thing. I'll put timestamps later so you can watch what you really want to watch first.